Hey guys, this is Rise, and I'm here with Cholera bringing you another tiebreaker set. This time we got Group B, and if you thought the first set was exciting and intense, I gotta be honest. I think we have a more intense tiebreaker set coming up right here. We got Leta in it, guys. Leta, the #1 pro leaguer out there these days, just destroying all the competition. Now making his way in the personal leagues, the 1v1 leagues, the OSL, the MSL, the GOM TV Classic. What is he going to win next? I don't know. So he's trying to win, obviously, the OSL as we're watching this game. And he's facing off against Fantasy, who is another Terran player. And Cholera, what do we know about Leta's TVT?
Leta's TVT is statistically the best ever. I don't know objectively if all of you would agree that it's better than Flash's, but I'll say two things. First, it's 71% win rate over a statistically significant number of games, like 38 games. And second, he just beat Flash in a TVT best of 3 on the other side of the lake, the MSL. So, you know, arguably, I would say he is the best right now. He is the best TVT player out there. I mean, Flash can be good too. Flash is the second best, but Leta has just dethroned him, I gotta say. And if he manages to win himself out of this, you know, he'll have to start here by beating Fantasy. You know, a guy who I like, but I don't love. I mean, he did okay all the way up to getting a silver in the OSL, and then sort of he's been, you know, oh, he's kind of creative, but oh, he also kind of just doesn't win that much. And when he does, it's usually against Zerg. So, I mean, he also beat Flash recently, actually. I'll give you that. He went for an interesting build and beat Flash, but we're going to see what happens here. Here we have Fantasy in the green at the upper right, and we got Leta at the purple at the lower left.
Yeah, and they are playing on, what map is this?
Chupung Ryeong.
Yep. So this is going to be an interesting match for sure. I mean, the other thing about Leta is not only is his TVT ridiculous.
This guy again.
Oh yeah, what the hell is with this guy? He was on a 10-game winning streak, and if you guys are TL members at all, go check out the power ranking. He's actually #1 on their power rank, and they have some pretty good write-ups about him actually, which is worth knowing because Leta definitely is. He's ranked #1 in the power rank, and so certainly a player to pay attention to and keep up with. And here again we see the brick wall of the possible progressions here. It looks like he's saying that there'll be a couple of series. I'm trying to make heads and tails of it now, but he's picking up whoever C is going to be A. I don't know. I don't know what that means. All right, leave me alone. And anyway, I think that Leta is going to destroy Fantasy in this DVT. I mean, of course, Fantasy has been known for some creative builds.
Well.
And really, I think that is going to be the only thing that can win the match for him is a creative build coming from him.
Well, he's certainly putting up a creative build here. He's putting a barracks right next to Fantasy's base. Obviously, it's not actually a proxy racks in the normal sense of gonna attack him or anything, but he's gonna be able to get an immediate scout in. And he is betting, of course, that Fantasy didn't, and that Leta didn't go for any kind of barracks cheese at all because he would insta lose to barracks cheese. You know, like a 2 racks or something like that. He'd die. But one thing I gotta say that neither of us mentioned, Fantasy beat Leta in this OSL series. In the first 6 games. That was Leta's 1 loss, though, and it was on this map, Chupung Ryeong. So, I don't know. I mean, with that under the belt there, Fantasy, you know, could be able to beat Leta and do another upset. Yeah, I would definitely have to call it an upset. And by the way, how this group went was basically everyone took turns schooling Tester, who became 0-3, and unfortunately, though, that left the remaining 3 people, By Hero, Leta, and Fantasy, each at 2-1. You know, Leta losing to Fantasy, Fantasy losing to By Hero, and By Hero losing to Leta. And here we are seeing Leta with the scout. Otherwise, though, it looks like both have gone for standard openings, although Leta might be going for something, no, I'm sorry, Fantasy will be going for something more aggressive here with the 2 racks.
And I'm very curious to see if we'll see like Super Vulture play or something else. He did get a good scout in right there. He knows exactly the build that Leta's going right now. And right now that's just 1 factory. I didn't see a second one building. So, but at the same time, Leta has just scouted the 2 fact build from from Fantasy. So both players getting the scouting information in that they need, and both players going to be prepared. It looks like we're going to see the 1-fact into fast expansion for Leta, which obviously scouting the 2-fact build, he's prepared enough where he thinks he can hold this, and certainly with the ramp, he'll be able to hold pretty much anything Fantasy can throw at him with a 2-fact build. Assuming he gets a quick tank or whatever it is he decides to go. It looks like he's actually going to get a vulture right away because he doesn't actually have a machine shop attached to that factory, so he is getting prepared as quick as possible. And, oh, look at that! Starport going up for Leta as well. So Leta hiding pretty much everything he's doing as well as he can from Fantasy, and Fantasy going to be a little bit in the dark as to what Leta is doing, and that vulture is going to get out just in time to block that ramp. So really it looks like Fantasy's going to stay in the dark, assuming Leta doesn't let him up his ramp and reveal his tech. Cholera, are you there? Did I lose you?
I'm sorry, actually, I am right here. This could lead to a lot of interesting combinations. You know, Fantasy could be going for a lot of vultures and trying to force his way up. On the other hand, Leta could be going for some rates, and then there'll be rates against vultures. But looks like, interesting enough, we're seeing an armory here, relatively early armory from Fantasy, and he's expanding also. So he's not going to, you know, really play it slow, play it really fast and go for some kind of all-in, you know, 3-fact vultures. He's actually just going 2-factory and then perhaps realizing that he's not going to get up the ramp, decided to expand afterwards. Meanwhile, we've seen kind of a similar thing from Leta. Instead of going straight 1-fact into CC, he went factory starport in a CC.
Yeah, and look at that perfect transfer timing. I mean, the command center landed as the SCV started mining, and that's something only pros seem to be able to do because, I don't know, playing on IC Cup, I can't do that at all, and I don't think any of the people I played against can do it either. It looks like we're actually going to see some protection going up in the form of spider mines from Fantasy, and as well as protection is scouting information. So if those rays go straight across those mines, uncloaked of course, he will see that they're coming, and he'll probably be prepared with Goliaths very quickly. He also might suspect something based off the unit count that he sees now, considering he's got that armory up already. And he's also upgrading something else at that machine shop. I don't know what it is quite yet. We haven't seen any other units besides vultures coming out, so it'll be a little tough to tell. And I think he had both speed and mines already done on those vultures. But Leta looking a little frantic for some reason. Maybe just the intensity of this game is completely in his head right now, and he is playing an intense game, and certainly a player not to really fall under pressure, it would seem, at least at this point in his pro gaming career, or at least his ridiculous play pro gaming career. And now we're going to see actually an academy going down. So it looks like Fantasy's completely prepared for this, and he'll be able to just defend with some Goliaths, I would imagine, or if he decides to do turrets, which I don't think he's going to do. I'm just waiting to see some Goliaths pop out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the academy is about done. He's got to be curious about what Leta is doing. So now Leta obviously has revealed his hand. So I think he was a little bit prepared for something like this. He was thinking maybe it was like that. Otherwise, he could still get a scan out if he wanted to. Now he's going to put down the scanners most likely, and he's going to start making some Goliaths. You know, this is not that bad for Leta, though. If Leta can kill off, you know, a good number of SCVs, he'll still definitely make up for the fact that he's going to be countered pretty soon with the correct units. There's a comsat station, but, you know, Leta is still going to be able to use his cloak rates in the middle of the map. You know, Fantasy won't have unlimited scans. He'll certainly be able to protect his main base pretty soon, I gotta feel. Leta doing a good job killing off these SCVs as they're building this 3rd factory, not letting it go up. And there should be probably a scan coming up pretty soon. You know, we're just waiting for it. Looks like he's just trying to make the best use of it, and he almost gets a Wraith there, but he's going to have another scan out from the natural expansion. So, meanwhile, though, Leta is doing a very good job, and you can see Fantasy looking concerned there. He's lost maybe 8 SCVs so far, and, you know, 8 or 9 SCVs is probably the magical number for when this becomes worth it, because, you know, this is not an all-in Wraith rush. It's not like 2-port Wraiths or anything like that, and it does look like Leta is getting more tech down and more factories, so this is very good for Leta.
Yeah, he's actually got 10 kills on those 2 Rays and just continuing to waste scans. And I think that Fantasy may actually be out of scans. 11 kills at this point for those two Rays, so definitely, in my mind, they're worth it. And oh, look at this, a Marine just going to destroy that minefield. Beautiful. And actually, Leta going to scan anyway and make sure he takes out the rest of it, which is the intelligent thing to do. You do not want to lose units with no reason at all to spider mines if you can avoid it. And since he's got the scan, it's just you know, just use it. And oh no, he's gonna go. No, wait, no, he just managed. No, he goes into it and loses a tank. And what can you do? You can't win them all. So doing a pretty good job of clearing out majority of the minefield. Not going to get all of it, and he's going to keep all but one tank. And but more importantly, he's got his ridge, so he's actually going to be able to keep a little bit of a contain or preventing a contain from going on. I guess basically both players have the same amount of map control at this point because. Although he's at the ridge of Leta, because Leta has that ridge, I think that he's in a perfectly fine position to hold his position and not lose anymore to the, I guess, offense of Fantasy.
Yeah, we're seeing Charon boosters done for Fantasy, but Leta has not continued production of rates. He's just going to keep those two mostly for harassment and probably sighting purposes. I got to say, Leta's got to be a little bit in the lead here in this game so far, although it's not by any means that far in the lead. And, you know, we've seen a lot of epic TBTs on this map. Recently we saw Flash versus Up Magic. I'm not sure if you had a chance to watch that one in the OSL, I believe. Yeah, where Up Magic, when it was a end game, literally end game battle cruiser versus Goliath fight. It was battle cruisers on battle cruisers. Then Up Magic lost his main, and then Flash lost his main to Goliaths, and just ridiculous. And Flash eventually lost the whole game, even though he has ridiculous battle cruiser fleet. But anyway, we could be seeing, you know, it's definitely looking like it's going to go into a long game. We're going to see who decides to go for dropships first. That is going to be one critical tech that we'll see. You know, when you go for dropships, you'll be a little bit behind on other things, obviously because you're building dropships instead of tanks. But on the other hand, it'll give you a big mobility advantage. And I think probably Leta is going to be the first there because he already has everything he needs. You know, a starport and a control tower.
Yeah, and on top of that, he did. Oh my God, it's like a broken replay. Look at Leta not moving his SCVs at his main base. He's going to have to be a little bit more on top of his macro if he's going to win this match. And really, either way, I do think he's a bit ahead with the amount of SCVs that he killed with the race alone, making that tech very worth it. And as you said, allowing him to go straight into drop ship tech if he decides to do that. And he also manages to take out the barracks, which is nothing more than an annoyance at this point in the game. But it does have a little bit of effect, especially if he's looking to build that 5th and 6th factory if he doesn't already have it, which he may already have put down, especially if he saw that barracks taking attacks. But still, it also takes away the side advantage that he was using it for. So really, Fantasy being pushed back here by Leta. Leta doing a very good job. Also using the map's different levels to his advantage. He does have 2 dropships as well, so he's got the mobility. He's starting to get some contain control. That scan going down, I don't know if he actually caught sight of those dropships or not. If he did, he's going to have to go back to his main base, which it appears he is doing. At the same time, Fantasy's trying to get a base up at the top left, and really with the dropships out, that's going to make it very difficult to hold. And he only has 4 factories, so he is going to have to rebuild that barracks, so that may actually delay his 5th and 6th factories after all. So we'll have to see if these dropships can really give the mobility factor a worthwhile cause. And mine's going down around the main base, which I think is a great idea. But here we see Leta. It looks like he may have scanned the top left, and he is heading over there to see if he can do some damage.
And it looks like, so far, he will do that. And by the way, Leta has been ahead on food count this entire time. He was 20 above. Now he's about 15 above or 12 above. Still significant, though. And he's going to take down this new expansion, which, you know, Fantasy was trying to even up the game with, or at least he's going to stop it from going up. I don't think those 2 Goliaths are actually going to kill it off, but he's definitely stopped it from doing anything. Meanwhile, something stopped those SCVs from building there. Maybe a vulture killed off the one building, and then those SCVs have forgotten to finish it. Yeah, and yeah, we were seeing the dropships going back now. I'm not sure what happened to the force on the upper left. It probably is just going to hang out there and just delay that expansion from mining for a very long time. Science facility going up now for Leta. Leta's going to get that +2 upgrade pretty soon, I got to think. Yeah, he's already at +1. Leta definitely in the lead right now. Now 20 food count ahead. 124 to 100, so significant lead. And you got to feel that, you know, Fantasy was hurt a lot in the beginning by that Wraith harass, and he had nothing. Oh, yeah. Absolutely nothing to answer it with. And I'm also a little bit mystified by why he went for a 2-fact before expanding. I mean, usually when you go for a 2-fact, you expect an offense. He went for a 2-fact, then he expanded, and that was it. I don't know. Very bizarre.
Well, the other thing to mention is he killed 11 SCVs, and 11 SCVs,
Yeah.
it's more than just the 50 minerals at each cost, right? Everybody should know this who plays the game. For those of you who don't know, I mean, there's a cumulative effect of those SCVs would have been mining at some point. So 11 SCVs that would have collected hundreds and hundreds of minerals are taken out of basically out of Fantasy's game, and he cannot reclaim that for quite some time, and now he cannot use that command center at the top left. He had to float it to the expansion right outside the top left, and I think that Leta would be prepared for this, and although it looks like Fantasy, oh, he takes out that SCV at the last second right before it finishes, but another one picks up right where the other one left off without missing a beat, and at this point, we see 3 dropships out for Leta, and really, Leta is just securing this lead slowly as he continues to pound away this mobility advantage that, although Fantasy's doing a great job with these vultures, harassing Leta. Oh, nice tank position right in the choke. Going to stop that from going anywhere. But those vultures have options here. They're going to go for the other base. So Leta, with 4 bases at this point, that has to be mentioned against Fantasy's 3, and one of which I think isn't completely running, or if it is, maybe in danger because Leta has those dropships. So really, Leta is definitely way ahead now. Almost, he's 40 units ahead in food count, and I mean, this is just a compounding effect that we're seeing here. And really, the question is, unless Leta makes some huge micro mistake, because I think he's already so far ahead in terms of macro that he can't make a macro mistake except for making and having SEVs sitting at his main command center every time they show it. Other than that, I think that Leta really can't lose his game. I mean, he's so far ahead. He's just going to slowly have to play out the TVT constriction game and see if he can win it.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. He is ahead, but TVT, I've seen TVT swing pretty big. You know, one failed drop, I think, could be something that would bring Fantasy back in this game. Like if Leta got 4 or 5 dropships sniped by, you know, some surprise Valkyries, or just a clump of Goliaths, more likely. That could change things. Yeah, like 3 surprise Valkyries. No, no dropships. And they have to be flying over water or something. Oh, look at this! We're gonna see battle cruisers. Battle cruisers are going to be coming from Fantasy. Well, so this is going to be interesting. I don't know if he'll be able to do anything to get enough of them on time. I mean, they are kind of hidden, so I'll give Fantasy that. And this map seems to it seems to lead quite often to battle cruisers in TVT. I guess because it's so long and there's so many ups and downs that it's just hard to, if you've split the map like this, it's hard to advance. But it looks like Leta's going to try to advance. I mean, the battle cruisers might not even come into play before this game is over, and Leta's dropship force has taken Fantasy out.
Yeah, and really, even if he can manage to slowly get some some battle cruisers together, which he's obviously making, as well as researching Yamato, he's going to have a tough time, really, because I think it'll be scouted out before that can ever happen, and really, you know, Leta's going to see the lack of dropships, and I can only imagine he would suspect something is up. I mean, I would. Well, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not really that smart. But we are seeing more starports at this point going up for Fantasy, and Fantasy is going to get that new base up, even though there's a tank that's been sitting there the entire game.
Nope.
And that may actually destroy the entire command center if he doesn't decide to lift it up at some point. Either way, if he gets that last gas up going right there, that'll be 4 gas for him, and he will be able to support a battle cruiser build, I would imagine. And really, Leta, unless he's completely in the dark and never scans, he's going to have a tough time, I think, pulling that off. And again, even if he does pull it off, Leta's going to have the factory capability to just mass Goliaths. And he's already got, or developing map control. I believe he's got just over 50% of the map at this point against Fantasy. And oh my God, we're seeing another physics lab going up for Leta. So it looks like we're going to see BC on BC action, man. I love battle cruisers. I don't know what it is. I have a thing for battle cruisers. And here we see the starports going up for Leta. And really, this is going to be awesome if we go into a battle cruiser kill fest.
Absolutely. I mean, Flash versus Up Magic. Flash came very close to winning with his battle cruisers. Wow, triple armory for Fantasy. He came very close because he had better Yamatos. You know, he EMP'd Up Magic several times, so he couldn't get those Yamatos out, and then he just Yamato'd the crap out of Up Magic. And that's what TBT battle cruisers fights come down to. It's who can get the first Yamato off, who can get the EMPs off. It's a very esoteric science, and it was clear that Flash has played those games much more than Up Magic has. So we'll see who's better at TBT battle cruiser practice. I mean, I'm sure these pros do spend a limited amount of time practicing with battle cruiser and battle cruiser action, but I gotta say it probably isn't that much time because you don't see them very often. I don't know about that. I mean, with all the matchups they got to practice for, I'm not sure if this is exactly one thing that everyone is really good at, like everyone's good at, say, Muto Micro, except for Fire Fist. But, you know, it looks like here we're seeing a drop again from Leta. And, you know, Leta's managed to pick up, I think he's trying to pick up a 5th base on the left side, and he's managed to stop, yeah, he's picked up a 5th gas or whatever. Yeah, I think it's a 5th gas on the left. Yeah. But he's managed to stop Fantasy from doing the same. So Fantasy's still 60 food count behind. And the thing is, Leta knows the battle cruisers are coming, so he's going to have some to reply with.
Awesome. He's already got +1 weapons on those. I don't see anything on the armor. It looks like he's just got +1 weapons so far. But really, that's good for Fantasy. And now we're only just seeing the rest of the control towers added to those starports. We are seeing double armory upgrades for him as well. So both players are completely going all in. And again, with the food count, I can't help but mention, I mean, my God, he is so far ahead. And look at the gas. And Leta has almost 2,000 gas at this point. And
wow.
So does Fantasy's at about 1,000 himself. And you can see the players spending them as they just barely get enough minerals. Leta is stockpiling both minerals and gas, starting to spend them now, it would appear. And now that he's spending them, he's going to start pumping them like crazy. I think he had a total of 6 starports and the 2 armories, of course. So he is going to be spending heavy minerals and heavy gas, and obviously that's one thing about battle cruisers that can make it very difficult to sustain if you start losing bases. Is just the amount of battle cruisers well, the amount of minerals and resources it takes to make a battle cruiser. It's a command center plus a ton of gas. I mean, it's not easy to build them regularly, and Leta, I think, has done the smart thing, and he has set up a very strong perimeter against any ground forces. So, you know, if we see a tech switch coming from Fantasy where he decides to go back to ground forces, which I doubt would happen, Leta would be prepared for it, really. He'd be able to handle it without much of a problem. And now Leta is securing the fact that he's got so many gases to continue to build a massive amount of battle cruisers. So even if he loses the first couple skirmishes, I would say, and it looks like he's also researching EMP at this point too. Even if he loses the first couple of skirmishes, he's going to be able to completely continue to pump them out like crazy. And the question is, will Fantasy be able to keep up with that? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a huge war chest that Leta has right now. Fantasy definitely has more battle cruisers for the time being, but you got to remember, if battle cruisers aren't that good by themselves, you need to have some tanks to back them up so you can destroy those turrets after the enemy tanks are down. He's managed to, yeah, get 1 Yamato off. You know, that's nice. It's got 1 tank, another Yamato on the tank, but I almost wonder if he should be saving them for the battle cruisers that are going to be coming from Fantasy. I mean, from Leta. But anyway, Fantasy with those nice, decent Yamatos, and a science vessel out for Leta. He could get a perfect EMP off, and that would be just absolutely beautiful. That would stop all these battle cruisers that are clumped together from doing any more Yamatos. Meanwhile, Fantasy is slowly crawling his way down the left side. That's important, though. That's the gas advantage. And looks like he wants to take the gas for himself. He's got a command center ready to take it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, it's going to be a very slow push. And he does definitely have battle cruiser numbers by a ton. And I don't know if he's just using those dropships to try to waste Psy or if he's going to go for the top left. It looks like he may be going to the top left. I think 1 did get through there, or maybe they all got killed. I'm not sure. And if he is, you know, obviously that's something that he needs in order to sustain the amount of battle cruisers he needs to do, because Fantasy has a ton of battle cruisers. Oh, EMP goes off right in the middle of them, though. So how many of them have Yamato? I don't know. There is also a science vessel out at this point for Fantasy as well. So Fantasy obviously going to try to do the same to to Leta. But I gotta say, man, Leta is behind in getting those battle cruisers out. Fantasy deciding to go battle cruisers sooner, even though he seemed to be behind economically, is paying off. He's taking out that gas. He's taking out that expansion. But the question is, did it already have its effect? Did Leta already get the benefit of it? And oh, Yamato goes off on one of the BCs right away, and those BCs are going to have a lot of trouble fighting against Fantasy, though, because Fantasy just, he's got it. Oh, and oh, man.
Oh, nice.
On the science vessel. That's huge. And Fantasy may actually be taking a lead at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching Leta's food count dropping here. I mean, what's happening, Leta? He knew it was coming, but he just wasn't ready. And he's staying behind for some more Yamatos, but we could be seeing a huge EMP on Leta's battle cruisers, and that would swing the game drastically in Fantasy's favor if that did happen. And, you know, it just seems like Leta, it doesn't seem like he's that good with this late-game battle cruiser stuff, because so far, he's lost, all that's happened is that he's lost his left side gas. Now, I mean, he has probably got a lot of battle cruisers queued up. I really can't tell who has more BCs, though. The food count for Fantasy is higher, but some of it might be, you know, SCVs and stuff. And here we're seeing, oh, looks like a nice EMP there from Fantasy, from Leta, rather. And Fantasy looks like he's walking into a lot of battle cruisers. We could be seeing EMP on all of Leta's forces there. Why is Leta running? I don't know. He just decided to run because maybe he's afraid of more Yamatos coming that he can't answer. Both players with +2 attack. I think +1 air armor for Fantasy. That's not much of a difference. Leta also choosing to repair. Actually, Leta's got 2-2. Never mind. So Leta a little bit ahead on the upgrades, but that's not going to matter that much. I mean, it's so close right now. Really can't say who's better with them. It's going to come down to who's played more UMS and who knows how to use these battle cruisers.
Yeah, this is totally going to come down to Team Micro Arena tournaments to win this match. And right now, it looks like Fantasy has been practicing a lot. He is starting to chip away at the defenses at the main base of Leta. And Leta still just trying to catch up in Battlecruiser count, but we know that takes forever. He's also got Goliaths on the ground. Beautiful idea right there. That's definitely going to be a deterrent. They're going to do a lot of damage. They're heavily upgraded with +2 weapons as well, and that's just going to do a ton of damage against those Battlecruisers of Fantasy. But Fantasy just continuing, you know, he's really putting a lead into this. And although Leta did manage to get another gas at the top right, or the 3 o'clock position, I should say. So doing a pretty good job right there. Taking out some tanks as well, capitalizing on the fact that the battle cruisers of our Fantasy were slightly out of position anyway at that point. And Fantasy repairing is to, because obviously it takes so damn long to make them, you want to repair your battle cruiser. You have to. And Leta now going in and...
Oh, EMP!
Going off, and it looks like he's going to have a tough time trying to get any Yamatos off. It looks like we're going to see an EMP going off against... Fantasy.
Oh my God.
Fantasy is coming out ahead. Fantasy is pushing Leta back. Leta is in a lot of trouble at this point. Leta does not have the forces. He's going to have to wait for his battle cruisers to build back up again. And I don't know if he's got the time to do this at this point. And Fantasy may be taking this match.
Wow, I gotta say, I mean, Leta saw this one coming. How come he failed to deal with it? Oh, he was so far ahead most of this game, and he knew it was coming. He knew it was coming for show, and he just didn't do it. He couldn't handle it. I don't understand. And also, why didn't he EMP that last battle? I mean, I guess he got preemptively EMP'd by the first EMP from Fantasy, but still, I mean, he needed to get the EMP before, like, those 4 or 5 Yamatos came out and started destroying his stuff. Now he's going back to making Goliaths. You can see the factory shining. It's not all over for him. He's still at even bases, although he's going to probably lose the right now. Fantasy bearing down on it. Unmagic managed to come back from worse, though, in his game against Flash, so we might be seeing some crazy big switch to Goliaths and somehow winning. But I gotta say, though, what happened in that game was that Unmagic started destroying Flash's bases with Vultures and Goliaths running in while Flash was busy destroying his main, and there's nothing like of that sort going on with Fantasy. I mean, and Leta. Leta is not able to harass Fantasy at all, so it's just going to come down to these capital ship fights, and it seems like he's just not as good with them.
Yeah, and really, it's got to be mentioned, he only has 4 factories. As you continue to see, only 4 Goliaths can be pumped out at a time, and now they're going to be ineffective anyway, because a tank plus battlecruiser force is going to be far superior to the Goliath slash battlecruiser force, because those tanks are just going to wreak havoc on any forces that can be pumped out of 4 factories from Leta. And Leta, at this point, is just slowly being picked apart. And I mean, look at Fantasy. Fantasy has diverged the bases of Leta. He has parted the seas of Leta's bases, and now he's just slowly making inroads into Leta. And Leta, oh man, look at those tanks just completely able to pick apart anything that Leta can put on the ground. Leta's so dedicated to his unit count, and look at this. Fantasy has caught up and surpassed Leta in the unit count at this point. So apparently, Fantasy just totally had the great build planned out after all. And now, look at Leta. Leta is starting to lose his main base. And, oh, Science Vessel goes down. I don't think he got an EMP off yet, but it looks like Leta actually with a very nice force over here. A couple Yamatos going off for Fantasy right over the battlecruisers of Leta. Leta going to take out a couple battlecruisers, also going to clean up the tank force. So this is going to be huge. This is actually going to equalize things quite a bit in favor of Leta. And we'll have to see if Leta can make his way back in here.
The science facility is down, though. I think that's what the Koreans were trying to show us. And so no more battle cruisers for a while from Leta. Leta has taken out the tank force. I think the battle cruisers force has got to be even. Both players need a science vessel. Neither of them has a science vessel. Science vessel will be critical here. One EMP could change everything. And now Leta on the warpath. But Fantasy has some Goliaths. And these Goliaths are going to be pretty good. Actually they're doing a really good job, running and scooting. Oh, nice Yamatos from Leta this time. So maybe Leta has discovered his UMS skills after all. Now he's going to take down Fantasy's, base on this left side. And you got to say, Fantasy does not have as much saved up in the tank as Leta, although Leta doesn't have enough minerals. He's got a ton of gas, and I really can't say who's ahead. Leta doesn't have, he's not moving up in mineral count. He's at 480, and he can't go any higher. This game is balanced on a knife edge. I can't say who's ahead right now. It is so close.
Yeah, man, this is a nail-biter for sure. No! Fantasy leaving a battlecruiser out in the open, and every single battlecruiser that you lose at this point is huge. It is going to kill him if he loses them, even one or two.
Yeah, he's been doing that all game.
Hanging out in the middle of nowhere. You got to be more careful at this point in the game. And here we have it. Here is the big battle. Yamato's going off all over the place. Fantasy get him off sooner. Leta is way behind, but Leta starts getting him out now. He might not even have the amount of energy that's needed. And look at this. Fantasy is picking apart this battlecruiser. Fantasy's going to win it.
Oh, wow.
Fantasy is taking out all the battlecruisers, and Leta's got nothing left in attack. Leta is going to lose this game. Fantasy has secured his position here, and he is going to win this game. GG!
Ow.
Fantastic, and Leta can't believe he lost it.
Why is he so happy? He just lost. I don't know. He has a grin on his face like, hey, I won. Oh, wait. That was the other player. No, I guess at the end, he just had battle cruisers are fun, man. I Yamato'd them. Wow, I guess the Goliaths made a huge difference at the end, I gotta say. Those Goliaths, I think, definitely both diverted the fire of Leta's battle cruisers and also did a ton of damage. I mean, if you're +3 upgraded, you deal 32 damage per rocket salvo. Of course, with the armor, it changes a little bit, but still, it's ridiculous. Yeah, so anyway, that was a long game, but we're going to be moving on to see the winner, Fantasy, fight by Hero, the Zerg player, who we've not really mentioned at all, but he's still around, and we'll see if he manages to do anything against Fantasy, who's looking really impressive so far.
Yeah, and if it's anything like the match that we just saw, we are in store for a good one for sure. One last thing, I think that Fantasy actually won that at the end because he got the Yamatos off first, and definitely the played a role in that because they were just getting free shots basically. They weren't taking fire from the battlecruisers to begin with, and so yeah, definitely the combination of the Yamatos sooner plus the Goliaths won that game for Fantasy. And, oh man, just great play. Way to get back in the game at such a huge deficit. Amazing. And, yeah, all right, let's just get right to the next game then. See you guys there.